Hey, ladies and gents, it's Zem, and we are doing, yes, the first Tier 9 premium plane for World of Warplanes, the XF-85 Goblin. Um, what this plane was, uh, obviously World War II, uh, there was a need for a long-range escorts for our bombers. Um, of course, the P-51, the P-47 were able to do it, uh, but there was a lot of fighter fatigue. That was during World War II. In 1942, the U.S. Army Air Force put out a demand for uh, essentially a parasite fighter that could be carried in the new series of bombers that were coming out, the B-35 and the B-36. This was not a new concept. The first attempt at this was, I believe, in 1918, when the British tried to hang Sopwith camels underneath their blimps. Again, in the 30s, the Russians, this was called the Zevin Project, were able to carry three, I believe, four planes on one of their large bombers. And these planes, as you see in this picture right here, were the first successful actual military application for parasite bombers. They performed bombing raids off of these, being carried into battle by these big bombers. They were able to destroy a couple bridges, I believe, in Poland. So yeah, there's definitely some history here. The United States also, the U.S. Navy also used a similar parasite bomber, or fighter, I should say. They used it on their two blimps, the Akron and the Macon. I believe Macon, I believe how that's pronounced. I'm going to get shit for this if I don't get it right. But this was also something during the 30s. Both the blimps were carried these parasite fighters as well. So there was some history. This was a legit idea. I mean, it was, it was definitely a viable project. So in 42, they came out with this, looking for a parasite fighter for their new series of bombers, mostly because the new bombers had a much longer range than the B-29s, and they didn't think there was going to be fighters that were going to be able to go for that long of time, plus the actual distance involved. So McDonnell come out with a development of this parasite fighter. The original design called for a piston-powered aircraft, and in 1944 they changed it to a jet-powered one. So McDonnell started working on this project, and this continued all the way up until 1947. The original design, McDonnell's original design for this aircraft, was to be actually recessed in the bomb bay, but would be extended out of the bomb bay. The U.S. Air Force didn't like that, so they had to go back to the drawing boards, and they came up with essentially this D model of this aircraft that was much smaller. The aircrafts and the Air Forces envisioned B-36s carrying four of these instead of their payload. So they would have a mixed bomber plus carrier bombing formations. So they were thinking about putting at least four of these in a B-36. So that was in 1947 before they got this all ironed out. Testing began in 1948 on this aircraft. Kind of an interesting testing period for this aircraft. They tried 7 times to unhook and rehook this aircraft. They failed 4 times, which I mean by 4 times they literally crash landed this aircraft at the airfield. 3 times they were successful. The biggest problem they had with this aircraft was the turbulence. So now I got ahead of myself. In 1948, the B-36 wasn't quite into production yet, so they used a modified B-29 to do these tests. The B-36, I believe after the 40th one that was produced, they were started to be designed to able to carry these XF-85 aircraft. However, like I said, 1948, the testing proceeded, and It wasn't a complete failure, but they had some serious issues. Now, if we look at the aircraft, these wings tips, these tips on the end of the wing, were added to help with the turbulence, trying to get up underneath the bomber, as well as the wing tips on the back of the plane were added, so they were able to try to get in here. And I do have a picture of the actual attempt. This is what it looked like. Gantry would lower down, and then the pilot would try to hook the hook on the aircraft onto this bar right here, and then pulled back up into the plane. Unfortunately, like I said, during the testing, didn't work out so well. In fact, he ended up smashing this plane a couple times into the bottom of the B-29 and forced him to make crash landings 4 out of the 7 times. The 3 times it did work, it was still rather difficult. And this was a McDonnell test pilot, so he was a highly skilled pilot. Very interesting little design concept. They produced 2 of these prototypes. Now, if you look at the hook, this is actually in the extended up position. When it was actually in flight, this thing would lay down into the slot on the front of the plane. The aircraft only carried 112 gallons, so it was not a real effective when it was released. They were estimating a 650 mile an hour speed on this aircraft. However, with the amount of the short amount of testing they did, they was never realized, and they were being probably most people considered very optimistic this thing would ever actually meet that. So at the end of 1948, with the testing not going well, the realization that the newer generation of fighters this thing was going to be outmatched by the newer generation of fighters. The work on in-flight fueling, all of those things, essentially those 2 things right there, caused the cancellation of this concept in 1949. So, that's the history of this plane. Both prototypes were not destroyed, and they ended up in. I do believe there's one. Both of these are in museums right now, and I'm not sure. I can't remember which one, where these are located at. So, very interesting, fun little history of this plane. So what do we get in game? And I'll be honest with you, when I played this plane, I think I had 5 games in it, 4 or 5 games in it. And then my son played a few games in it too. I think he played 3 or 4 games, and he thought it was pretty awesome. So if you're looking for an awesome plane, according to my 11-year-old, he thinks this is pretty cool. Sergeant Slaughter was talking to me, and he did some of the research on it, and he said this was essentially, if you look at the statistics of the FJ-1, which is the Tier 9 fighter already there, these 2 are very close. The Goblin is a little bit more maneuverable, a little bit of airspeed, same altitude performance, and the FJ-1 has a little bit better gun armament. So if you're familiar with the FJ-1, this is not too far off of it. However, this is probably a third of the size, very hard target to hit, and it's got such a great little boost on it. Good altitude performance, good speed. What we do have in game, of course, is also historical. It does carry 4 12.7 millimeter machine guns. Of course, you can see in the front here it's mounted, 2 on each side. For the most part, they are quite effective. I'm not going to lie to you. This plane, I was surprised with just 450s. Of course, I was using Universal for most of the matches that I played in it, which isn't a big deal. It was like 23,000 credits, I believe, per match to run Universal on this. But it does make a difference when you get in and behind a lot of these bigger targets. I was a little concerned that, with the bigger HP targets, that this would have a hard time taking him down. But I shot down a number of RB-17 bombers, a number of ground attack planes, IL-40s with this thing, and it had no problem working this way because those 50s just keep pummeling, and it take quite a while for them to heat up. What is awesome about this plane is its ability to go from under 1,000 meters to over 2,500 meters very quickly. I will not lie. It's kind of your biggest problem a lot of times is going too fast when you're dealing with targets. So in my opinion, and this is just like I said, the games I played in it and whatnot, I would give it an easily 1 thumbs up. Is it worth $70? I would hold off and see if they're going to give it an event and see if you can win it first. I'm not necessarily sure it's going to be necessarily worth $100 or $70. I'm sorry, unless you're a collector. However, it does print freaking silver like nobody's business. 10K game, you're going to get between 375,000 and 400,000 credits a match. This thing prints better than a tier 8 premium in my opinion. At least a few games that I have. I think I had one over 400,000, and it wasn't really that spectacular game. I mean, if you're getting into the 15 and 16,000 personal points, combat points, whatever they call it, I'm guessing this thing is going to be easily a 500,000 silver in one game. So, with that said, you do get a special camo. You get the shark's teeth, some red wing tips, and whatnot. The deal is also you get a 9-point captain, or 9-point captain. I'm trying a couple different things out. I put Engine Guru 1, Engine Guru 2, Aerodynamics Expert, and Aerobatics Expert just to see what I could do with it. However, this is always subject to change, and we'll see how that works out. I did put on essentially the free equipment that you get with it. You get a free improved covering 4, a free engine tuning 4, and a lightweight airframe 4. So this all comes in that package plus a bunch of other deals. For $70 or $70, some gold, premium time, that kind of stuff. Like I said, easy 1 thumbs up aircraft. I mean, it doesn't dominate at tier 9 by no means, but it can, depending on the course on the pilot. Fun little rocket ship. It is a blast to fly. So with that said, I'm going to bring up the gameplay for you guys to check this plane out and see what you guys think of it. Hey guys, back with the first game in the Goblin, and top tier, love it. I just happened to randomly get into a game with Can Grunt. He's one of my platoon mates, and he's running the Yak-15. So, I'm going to show you a little bit about what this thing can do. When I was playing these games, I was trying to take this thing to the extreme. I was going low, I was going high, I was chasing shit I probably shouldn't have been chasing. I just kind of wanted to see what it was going to do. Obviously, I could do this in a training room, but it's much more interesting if I do this in actual combat. So, if you notice the boost right off the bat, boom up, and straight up, the rate of roll on this thing is ridiculous. I mean, it's so quick. It has no problem with altitude. It has no problem getting down low. It's not quite as maneuverable as some of the aircraft you're going to run into, but for the most part, I spent a lot of times with this plane, like I said, shooting at heavy fighters, some RB-17s, things like that. The 450s just absolutely wreck. So much firepower, I should say. Pull down on the BF-109G. Let's get on through here. Oh, didn't quite get all of him, and we almost got this objective turn. Pick up the next BF-109, and just a little bit, probably 550, 600 meters is about your farthest out that you're going to get a fair amount of effective damage done. So I got incoming bombers, and I'm going to start shooting to altitude here. I can't complain about the altitude performance of this aircraft. Easily up over, I believe when I was playing with Rommel, I think he had his up over 3,500 meters, no problem. The boost rebuilds relatively quickly here. Picking up the TA-152, he's got the sights on the, picking up on the heavy fighter, so I'm just going to turn and burn with him a little bit here. Pulled around in on him. Yep, there we go. All over his shit. Finish him off. Sitting about 3,100 meters. That's about the time I know the human pilot that's coming in here. He's flying an FJ-1. Similar aircraft here, so we're going to see what we can do with it. Now, I got mine built a little bit more along the lines for maneuverability, so it lets me stay with him and have no problem getting on his tail. and that's what this thing does pretty well, is staying on tails. It's a relatively, it's not an easy aircraft. It's not an easy aircraft to hit because of its size. So when you play it, obviously do a lot of juking back and forth. You're not going to have a whole lot of problem dealing with enemy pilots getting on your tail. Finish off the next one, and here we're going to go. Yep, let's hit the boost. We're going to catch these guys. Just like I said, look how fast this thing can gain speed and altitude. Really nice when it comes to that. Bombers, really no problem. I mean, if you get into a large bomber formation where you got to kill multiple bombers by yourself, your 50s are going to overheat eventually. But for the most part, like these guys, I'm just picking them up little by little. I have some help here, so burn through these bombers fairly quickly. One more to go. Yeah, let's see, I don't want to shoot the ME-262. Pick up the last of the bombers, and now we're going to go back to this objective here and see if we can pick up this objective. Yeah, you keep her up above 550, 600 kilometers an hour. It does well at that speed and or above. Drop down, got the BF-109s coming in here. Not a lot of hit points, so you have to be somewhat careful of that. Like I said, it does not take a lot of damage real well here. Pulling on the air defense fighter, finish him off, flip back up and over. Looking for my next target here. There's the other BF-109 coming in here. Almost got him. Down we go. It's really effective against light fighters, specifically even against these bots over these objectives. It has no flaps. I'm constantly dabbing the F key for flaps and then realizing I don't have them. But for the most part, your biggest problem a lot of times with this aircraft is keeping the speed down where you can deal with some of these slower aircraft here. So, not doing so hot here. Got 139, and there's a bunch of red coming up in here behind on top of us. So, going to go in the vertical, come up in here, boom, pick up the other guy, boom, and backing over down onto the F2G. He's after the GAs. Let's see if I can give him a little bit of hand here. So about 650 meters, kind of keeps me out there. Apparently FG1 was not happy with me. He come back to get me. So we're sitting at 2 objectives to 2, and yeah, let's see what we can do here. Spawn back in again. I'm looking for that bomber up there on the top here that I noticed that he was hanging out by himself. So I'm going to boost on up here and see if I can get this RB-17 knocked out. I think in the other video I had where I shot down an RB-17 pretty much solo. These 50s will just, like I said, with that high rate of fire, and it takes a while for them to heat up. You can put a lot of damage out there relatively quickly. Pull down here on the RB-17, start working him over. Yeah, you can see, like I said, look at the numbers just come off of it. Like I said, I thought it was going to be a little bit undergunned with the 450s, but I was not disappointed. That's probably one of the better things about this aircraft. Of course, is are the guns on it. The 450s do a nice job, and of course the boost. Everything else that is kind of meh about this aircraft. It is, like I said, with the boost on it and its speed, it's not hard to stay with a lot of these heavy fighters, and that's what I find myself doing a lot of times, is picking on heavy fighters. Yeah, because they have a hard time getting away with this thing, especially if you have a boost available, because you just hit the boost and you're right on their tail, even in a climb. So come back here, got the IL-20 coming down here below. He's mostly full health, and like I said, you're going to see here what these 450s can do. Pull back around, coming around. I want to keep this objective going, not lose it. Pull back in on him, and like I said, watch them numbers just come off, no problem. Slowly but surely finish him off. Now my objective's a little bit better. So now here comes an RB-17. I'm at 600 meters, and then I hit the boost, and up we go. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier about this thing, how quickly it can go from under 1,000 meters to over 2,500 meters relatively quick. So up to 2,000 meters, 24, 23, 2,400 meters, right in on the RB-17. 2,500 meters, yeah, no problem. Pick up the RB-17, start working him over hard, slowly but surely. Yeah, we're going to get him. Finish him off, and I got the ME-262. Like I said, with this vertical, with the amount of thrust it has, and it's already really good speed, it's not hard to go up and down with this aircraft. It does it quite well, actually. Pick up the ME-262. Not terribly sure if he's just what he's up to, but that's all right. Staying on him, and yeah, picked him up. No problem. Got the F2G coming in, and another GA, so we're going to boost. He's going in the vertical. I like to see that. Look at the numbers on there, 800 kilometers an hour, and already up there dealing with the F2G. He took a dive down through, back around, and all over him. I'm not sure, once again, about the equipment yet. I just kind of threw out there to see what was going to happen. But yeah, it's I do like the Engine Guru, and so far I've liked having the extra maneuverability with this aircraft. Makes it a little bit better dealing with some of these 9s, especially the FJs or even other Goblins. It does it pretty decently. Turn away, hit the no flaps. God, I just can't believe I keep forgetting that. That's about the time I see the ME-109TL starting to come through here, and he's going fast. Round the corner we go, hit the boost, and you notice right away how quickly he's closing the distance. He goes in the vertical, loses some speed, lets me get on his tail, and start working him. Pick up the air supremacy, and yeah, very quick match. And essentially what's holding apart here was just killing the human pilots. So this was, yeah, 11,000. So about 400K is what I made on this game. So I got one more for you guys to watch. Yep. Alright guys, back with the last game in the XF-85. And I'll tell, like I said, I'll tell you guys, I'm not, for the most part, if you're interested in this aircraft, I'm not going to say that it's definitely well worth. I shouldn't say it's well worth the $70. If you have the $70, hey, go pick it up. It does well. Once again, one thumbs up on it. It's not a super duper OP aircraft, but it does really well what you're going to do it with, which is making the silver. Yeah, it's easily able to produce 400K plus games quite easily. I think this one was just a little over 9K, and I believe it was like right around 380,000 silver. So, pick up my first target up on the ME-410. Yeah. Start working him hard. Slowly but surely we're going to get him. Oh, yeah. All over him. And you know, and like I said earlier in the garage, I do run Universal on it. You know, with the 450s, that extra crit hits and the chance of fire helps out a bunch. So down we come. And what do we got here? We got this objective taken, and we have a few here to the Spitfire and XF-85. There's my counterpart. I'm going to drop down on him if I can catch him. That's about the time I saw these P-51N coming through here, and of course the BF-100G. Pick him up quick, and that helps us start turning this objective a little quicker. That's about the time I noticed the Spitfire 1. He knocks my engine out, and trying to get around. So many reds. I'm not really sure what the blue ones are doing. Circling around the bottom, maybe. Hopefully, I get a little help here. Gets my engine back. And coming around on the LA-9. Oh, it is on my tail. Another Spitfire. Jesus. You cannot turn with those guys. But like I said, with my wing damaged and my engine not doing so well on 50 hit points, this is going to be interesting. So, get kind of in a turn fight here with them. I can't really want to give them my back, and I don't have any chance really to get away here. So I turn around. Hopefully by that time I was kind of hoping that my, yep, here they come. Starting to get a little bit of help from my teammates, and I'll pick up the other Spitfire going through. Oh, yeah, you find yourself a lot of times, like with this aircraft, you're constantly on the brake too. Like I said, with the speed and stuff, it's easy to overshoot planes. Somewhat difficult is, like I said, to stay on the tails of some of these planes if you're not dabbing that air brake a little bit to keep it from overshooting. So pull back down on here. Pick up the P-51. Coming through here. Yep, we're going to put some shells into you. Oh, finish him off. Got another Spitfire. And pull back around. And this is kind of what I really like to do with this aircraft, of course, is the heavies. The heavy hunting. These guys really don't have a chance to get away from this aircraft. Unless some of them pull some crazy altitude shit on you. For the most part, they have a hard time running away from you, especially if you got your boost available, because you can stay right with most of the Tier 9 heavies that I've run into, except for maybe the HGs. This aircraft will stick with these guys. I'm already closing the distance on this aircraft, and haven't really engaged the boost too much to catch him. So pick him up. We're sitting pretty even right now. We're up about 70 points on them. However, they have a mining facility, and we have the incoming LA-9, some Spitfires. Hit the boost again, up over 700 kilometers pretty quickly. Pick up Lester. Yeah, there you go, Lester. Thank you for participating. So, got the other Spitfire coming up here. Just start working him just a little bit here. Finish up Patrick, and now I'm just kind of seeing what I'm going to see here, because this is one of those center objective maps. I don't really have a problem sitting here eating at the buffet, I guess. Pick up the P-51H. I was kind of hoping I was going to see a little bit more bomber action. Maybe. Pull around, got the LA-9, Gleb over here. We are still up on objective points. They have the mining facility, unfortunately. But right now, there isn't a whole lot of things I can do, since most of our blue players seem to be hanging out here, right here. So, pick him up, and now I got a bunch more fighters coming in. Around we go. That's about the time I know the XF coming through. And, of course, that guy. Engine's knocked out, and I get pummeled by the F-84B coming in from the rear. Yeah, apparently he was mad. I don't know what you want to call it, headhunting bots. So, we lose the center objective. That's alright. With the speed of this aircraft, and like I said, with the altitude of this with this aircraft, it's relatively easily to take objectives by yourself. I did several times take objectives by myself. Once you get to altitude, take out the heavy fighters and just work your way down. And it has the speed to get to objectives pretty quickly. So, boost up. I saw me a bomber at the... let's see what we can do against this. See if this thing is actually able to take out a RB-17 by itself. Start working on the RB-17, and like I said, watch them numbers come off of these bombers here. I've already got half of his hit points gone, and I just got into his rear here. Pull back and up and over. These, of course, are bot bombers. Might be a little different story if you have to deal with a actual human bomber. Pull back around. Yeah, there you go, buddy. And start working on him. Oh, those 50s are so nice. And you notice I didn't even really completely heat the 50s up to finish him off. Of course, I'm playing against Rod and Cenotaph, both good pilots. So, yeah, this is going to be an interesting game. Drop down on here on the ME-329. I really want this objective to be taken. I really would like to see the mining plan. It has been going back and forth for quite a while here. So, dropped in on here on the ME-329s and see what we can do here. Pull in on the first one. See if we can take this objective back before we lose it. And, get a good pass on him. Unfortunately, like I said, with this aircraft, it's a lot of times not easy to keep the speed down. Flip back up and over. Oh, yeah, there we go. Like to be able to stay with him, but he's a wily devil. Pull back around. Alright, so we got the other 329 going the other direction here. See if I can get on his tail. Take a little bit of damage. Unfortunately, they're able to flip the objective. Oof. Yeah. So, now it's just time to kill these guys. This objective had been going back and forth for a while. I can't believe we actually lost it, but we did. It is what it is. I didn't have the best luck for the win rate on this thing today. I think I was probably only at about 50% for the most part. But I was kind of glad to see that there was actually a fair amount of human beings playing. They're always better than the bots, right? Pick up the other ME-329, and there we go. So, going back to center, the center objective. Those guys are doing a damn nice job of turning objectives, and we are losing fairly quickly here. So back to the center. We're going to see if we can do anything about maybe taking out a few more targets here before the end of the game. Boost up, keep that speed up, 700 kilometers an hour. You see that quite often with this plane. It just really moves quite nicely. So pull back around here. What do I got down below me? I just keep hitting the flaps because I always, maybe it's because it's just used to it. Pick up rod in his X5U. There we go. And even if you really don't like the pancake, this plane does a pretty damn nice job of actually hunting it fairly well. Pull back on a rod here, see if we can pick him up before time's out, but can't quite get it. So, not a bad game, even with 9,215. It was about 360,000. Yeah, not too bad. So, thanks for watching, guys, and hopefully I'll have some more up on this plane a little bit later.